My apologies. Okay, so I was muted and talking. So could you guys hear me all right? Okay. Let me pull up the agenda stuff. Give me a second. This is proposed agenda. Okay. We have to read the whole thing, the teleconference, public participation, all that stuff. So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Cupertino City Planning Commission meeting. And I'm Vice Chair Muni Madipatla. I'm kind of filling in for Chair Stephen Sharp, who is struggling to join. Hopefully, he comes soon and takes over. Stephen is calling me. Just give me a second.
Would the commission like to take a 5-minute break?
Okay, my apologies. Yeah, so that was Chair Sharp trying to call me, so I see him coming on. So, is it Stephen? Are you there?
He's coming through.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I'm late. My one computer would not let me log on.
Okay, so finally you made it. So I was just getting started, Stephen, so I haven't gone further. So why don't you get started?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and bringing up my agenda and all, because I had to switch to a different machine. Okay.
Okay. Security warning. Okay, so let's get started while Chair Sharp is getting set up. So I hope you guys can continue to hear me. So this meeting is being conducted in pursuant to public California Government Code 54953. In a public forum with teleconference meeting and physical location to stop. No physical location to stop spread of COVID-19. So members of public wishing to comment on the item may do so in the following ways. I'm sure you can read through in the agenda packet all the different ways that you can comment. So with that, let's get started. So roll call.
Thank you.
Did I miss anything, or do I have to say anything more before going to the roll call?
No, that was good.
Yeah. Okay. So, city manager, the planning manager, and staff. Sarah, do you want to do roll call?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Kapil?
Yeah, present.
Commissioner Saxena?
Present.
Commissioner Wan?
Present.
Vice Chair Madipatla?
I'm here.
Chair Sharp?
Here. Okay, yeah, I'm still trying to bring up the agenda here, but I believe the first item, can you see it, Mooney? Is that the
I can see it. Yeah.
approval of minutes, or is that
approval of minutes.
Okay.
Is the first item.
Yeah, go ahead while I'm trying to get this agenda up here. I think it's my internet happens to be very slow. That's all.
Okay. So the first item is approval of minutes. So I hope all the commissioners have read the approval of minutes, and so Sarah, do you want?
There are no minutes.
There are no minutes.
Yeah, I didn't see any minutes attached, but of course I wasn't there in the last meeting, so I guess if there are no minutes to approve, we'll go to the next one. So what happened to the minutes for the last meeting? Just curious.
I can go ahead and answer that. There were several meetings that were taking place that we did need to prepare agendas and noticing for, which is the Community Engagement Plan Strategic Advisory Committee, which I was helping with agenda and notifications for that. So unfortunately, I was not able to get the minutes ready in time for the agenda packet for this meeting. But they will definitely be available by the April 26th meeting.
Okay, good to know, because I couldn't attend because I was traveling that meeting. So
Right. Okay, I can take over now, Mooney. Thank you.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So do we have any postponements? Matt?
There are none.
Okay. And do we have any written communications? I'm sorry, it's time for oral communications. Let me check to see if I have anyone that wishes to speak during oral. If you wish to speak during oral, raise your hand. I have 2 hands raised. You'll have 3 minutes. And just like in city council meetings, if you wish to speak, please raise your hand prior to the first speaker finishing. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Chair Scharf. I was getting all ready to say welcome, Vice Mayor Muddy Patla. Okay, all right. But anyway, nice to see you all. I just had a couple of items I wanted to talk about. I had sent an email to the Planning Commission and to the City Council about, as an example, the 6th cycle housing element in Santa Cruz County. Capitola has just begun their housing element 2, and their mayor, whose name is Sam Story, wrote an article for this Santa Cruz Sentinel, and he had some very interesting points that I think people should be aware of. We're all in this together with the housing element. Santa Cruz County has areas of unincorporated. Capitola, Scotts Valley, and Santa Cruz are the only actual cities in Santa Cruz County, and I think Watsonville too. But Santa Cruz County has had to have 33,000 housing units from their RENA cycle, which is I believe a 9% increase from the 5th housing cycle that we went through. And he was just saying that Capitola is a tiny little city. They are going to have to rezone practically the entire city to try to accommodate their portion of the RENA for Santa Cruz County. And he said that they need time if they're going to do this. And I think that he spoke a great truth there. I'm really, really getting concerned about the state and HCD and other powers that keep beating down on the cities, saying that you have to do something by a certain date. As you all are aware, Santa Cruz County had the CZU fire 2 years ago. There were areas and cities that were completely evacuated in there. I know I have relatives there. I know people that were evacuated out for almost a month. You cannot get fire insurance in some parts of Aptos and Capitola. And to think that anyone would be urging this area, which is still going through active rebuilding. I see trucks on 17 when I go over 2 times a week that are going into Scotts Valley to get up into Felton to rebuild houses. Anyone would be a fool to say that that area has to get housing implemented by a certain date. They are victims of fires, and I think that this is a gross abuse of cities such as Capitola and Santa Cruz County to even be doing this. They have narrow roads, problems where you have mud flows. Remember Love Creek? It's asinine. We need to change this. Thank you.
Stephen, you're on mute.
All right, welcome, Lisa. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. You didn't say my name, or I didn't hear it. So it's Lisa Warren. So I'm just going to make a request, a very strong request. With the modified SB 35 application submission for the former Valco area, I'm hoping that you, as the Planning Commission, will use the reason you're there to help with planning, to emphasize to staff and City Council the great importance of an independent third-party review of all of the newly submitted plan sets and accompanying documents. Prior to the submission, the reduced staff we currently have was stretched thin with the housing element, which needs great attention as well, and all other existing tasks, that the many that they have. And I believe it is safe to say that with the history of applications for the former VAPO property, it illustrates the tremendous need for reviewing and reviewing and reviewing, and have multiple sets of eyes on it to assist staff and just to educate the public. So please encourage, beg, whatever it takes to have some eyes that are independent. And I know the city's used people before that are somewhat familiar with this area and would probably be wise to reach out to again. So please help facilitate that. And of course, you yourselves, please look at it best you can, together and individually, and share. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. There are no more hands raised, so we will move on the agenda. Let's go up here. Do we have anything on the consent calendar? I don't see anything. Were there any written communications that came in? I didn't see any email.
There were 2 written communications to the Planning Commission on items not on the agenda. One was sent in on Friday, April 8th, and the other one was sent in on Sunday, and that was April 10th.
Okay, were either of those requested to be read during oral communication?
No.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Nothing on consent, so we are on to public hearings. Only one item: review of the annual capital improvement program, CIP, for the fiscal year 2022 to 2023. Report for consistency with the City of Cupertino's general plan. So may we have the staff report, please?
Yes. I would actually like to introduce Susan Michael from our capital improvement program manager, and she will be presenting this item to the Planning Commission to consider the general plan consistency for the capital improvement program for the year.
Great, thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening, Commissioners, Chair, members of the public. Thank you for having me. I'm Susan Michael. As Pew said, I'm the Capital Improvement Program Manager, and I have a short presentation to go through. Hopefully you can see my screen okay.
Yes.
So tonight, I'll be presenting the projects that we are proposing for next fiscal year 22-23, the capital improvements programs, and we present them for your consideration to see that they conform with the city's general plan. I wanted to first, before we launch into the presentation, let the Commission know that, as stated before, I believe, we do have a CIP dashboard that you can find on the city's website. It's under the Public Works page, and there you can find more information about the current projects. So the agenda for tonight is I will run through the projects. There are 7 projects that we are proposing, and we've grouped them into category based on the general plan goals. So there'll be projects on mobility, infrastructure and energy sustainability, infrastructure and land use, parks, recreation, and community service. And then we will open for comments and discussion. So the general plan includes the goals stated here, that the city's infrastructure will be upgraded and enhanced through the capital improvement program, and that the CIP is reviewed by planning to confirm that it meets the goals and policies identified in Community Vision 2040, the general plan. We're here tonight to present the proposed new projects and illustrate that conformance for your consideration. As I mentioned, there are 7 projects that we are proposing. 1, transportation, otherwise adhering to the mobility goals. one infrastructure project, two infrastructure that has more of a land use sensibility to it, and a parks and recreation project, or three projects. So 1, 2, 1, and 2, and 3. So the mobility project. The way I've structured this is we get to the section, I'll mention the goals that we are considering, and then as we get to the projects, I'll mention some of the, not all, because there's quite a few, but the strategies and policies that might apply to those projects. So in this case, we have goals M2 and M3, promote improvements to the city streets that accommodate all transportation modes and walkability and bikeability. So the project is to add buffered bike lanes to the De Anza Boulevard. We would essentially design this in-house to restripe De Anza Boulevard to add a painted buffer zone between the existing bike lane and the vehicle lanes. So this is an illustration. We believe the construction will be about $500,000. So as stated before, that there are a number of policies in the mobility section that relate street design, adjacent land use, putting in bike lanes where they're appropriate, connectivity, promoting connectivity, and capital improvement program try to eliminate gaps in the pedestrian bike network as part of our CIP project list. So the next project does address both infrastructure and energy sustainability goals. So the energy sustainability, promoting the conservation of energy resources, improving building efficiency, and ensuring that the infrastructure is developed in a fiscally responsible manner. The project, and I looked at my deck as we started, so I will apologize if you saw your packet beforehand. It is city lighting LED improvements. I hadn't changed the title from last year's project. So in short, last year we did a survey of our city's LED, or city's lighting actually, and we wanted to do a survey to see what it would take to bring our lighting into compliance with the dark sky ordinance. So some of the lighting is not LED and needs to be brought to LED, and other of the fixtures are LED, but we need to evaluate them to see if they meet the requirements of the dark sky ordinance. So that survey has been completed, and we are proposing a project to implement the results of that survey. So that would be, we estimate it would be $1 million, and it would take more than 1 year to do, but there are over 2,500 light fixtures that we would be addressing, so it's quite substantial. And we believe it's in conformance with the general plan, especially, and these aren't, like I said, all of the policies and strategies, but we wanted to stick to the highlights. We really are trying to address the energy and sustainability goals and policies of the general plan. It's a conservation and efficient use of energy, and green building demonstration by using the lower light or lower energy fixtures. So the next two projects actually are infrastructure related projects. They also have something of a land use component. So the land use goal specifically is to maintain a fiscally sustainable city government that preserves and enhances quality of life, promotes innovative strategies to address parking, and we want to protect the urban and rural ecosystems, as well as ensuring that the infrastructure is enhanced in a fiscally responsible manner. And the first project is City Hall and Parking Garage design and construction. We're proposing to do a renovation or replacement to the City Hall. We actually have a study session next week with council to provide further direction. But the proposal that we're talking about tonight is that the existing City Hall building was built in 1965, and it has not been sufficiently reinforced to withstand a major seismic event. Retrofit of the structural system along with upgrades to the infrastructure, including MEP and life safety, are essential to extending the useful life of the facility. The interior layout of the facility also doesn't meet the needs of the community or the people that work there. So we're proposing to do, we started by proposing renovation, but we also note that replacement of City Hall is more cost effective. So we are asking for that at our proposal. So the proposed budget here is to go in for design services for the first year. The cost of the construction is going to be substantial. So we are asking the City Council to approve the first year funding for design and contract services for consultants related to the design and construction. And that would get us started and give us better documentation to price out the construction. So it's worthy to note we've also included as part of this a parking garage that we're proposing that goes in above ground in the southeast corner of the existing library parking lot. By doing renovations to City Hall, you're required by planning to address the parking needs. And we've had traffic analysis done recently adjacent to the library project, but looking at the whole civic center and seeing how it's used. And that did identify that parking was insufficient. Additionally, the building and planning codes require adding more parking spaces. To address that, we're proposing a parking garage above ground, as I said, in the southeast portion of the existing lot in order to better improve the parking situation at Civic Center. We believe this project meets the general plan by looking at the land use goals, maintaining, improving the city's long-term fiscal health by having a better, more efficient building. That also is addressed in the energy and sustainability goals, and also the M6 vehicle parking. As we all know, parking at Civic Center is challenging, so we are proposing to add parking to address that need. And we also want to develop the site in a fiscally and sustainably responsible manner that preserves the urban and rural, in this case, the urban ecosystem, to make sure that we're doing that correctly.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second and
yes.
Ask Michael Wu if I need to recuse myself on this, because I am within 500 feet of where this parking garage will go, as well as where, if there's a new city hall, where that would go. So is Michael here?
Yeah, I'm here, Chair Scharf. Yeah, I don't believe that you're going to be conflicted out for making a decision, since your particular situation is going to be similar to other members of the public who reside around this development. So I think you're fine to participate and stay in this meeting. Okay,
I just recall when the library expansion and the Regnart Creek Trail were discussed, I had to have get permission from the FPPC to participate in those.
Yeah, as far as I know, based on what you're informing me at this moment as to be your residency within a particular distance of this project, I don't believe you're precluded. Having said that, please note that the purpose of this presentation to commission is to determine that it's in compliance with the general plan.
Right.
It's not to discuss the substantive merits of any of these projects.
All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And my understanding is, we are only approving the study, right? Not necessarily, the construction of it, right?
Yes, the first year is for the design and planning. So the hope is to hire the consultants to design and plan and get into the details of the design and the code compliance and things like that. Yeah. Yeah, not the construction quite yet.
All right, thank you.
Yes. So the next project also had the wrong proposed budget here. I apologize. The city owns 3 residential properties, Stockelmeyer, Byrne, and Blesch. And this project is minor. We actually proposed to get inspection reports on those 3 properties and to facilitate a strategy discussion about what next steps might be for those properties because they're currently unused.
So the proposed scope there was not correct, obviously.
Oh no, it isn't. I apologize. Oh, I did this too quickly. I do apologize. I obviously copied the page and didn't update it. That's a big oversight on my part. These goals and policies are correct, however. To preserve and protect the city's historic and cultural resources. These, at least especially the Stockmeyer House, is old, and we do want to do the right thing by the city, by the residents, and see if there's a good way to use the house to improve it, and also looking at the property as a whole. We want to promote efficient operations and provide high quality, well-maintained community facilities that meet the needs of the community. Let's hope I've not got more errors. So the next section is the Parks and Recreation projects. There are 3 of them. We do hope that these projects conform to the general plan. There's 3 major goals stated here, that we are providing a range of park and recreation resources and preserving the natural resources, providing recreation programs and services that meet the needs of the population, and provide a high quality, flexible, and well-maintained community facility that meets the changing needs of the community and a source of community identity. So the first project is the Blackberry Farms Pools Splash Pad. The current Blackberry Farms Pools has a slide, and that slide is in disrepair. It requires a great deal of OSHA regulated compliance with its operation and maintenance, and has become a burden to keep it in safe operations. We propose replacing the slide with a splash pad, which is actually more accessible for more people in the population, and they're quite popular at other places. We believe this meets the general plan goals and policies and strategies by using efficient use of water resources, provide, once again, a variety of recreational activities, and hopefully this meets the needs of the community. The next project is Jollyman All-Inclusive Play Area Adult Assistive Bathroom Facilities. So one of the existing projects in the CIP portfolio is a new all-inclusive play area at Jollyman Park, and that is underway. Hopefully you've seen the survey on engagecupertino.org, and you've taken part in that. We're trying to make sure that we're designing that to meet the needs of the community. One of the things that is not a part of the scope presently that we believe would be of great benefit to add to the project is to construct a bathroom facility adjacent to the play area. The people that come to the park are of all ranges of ability, and currently the bathroom facilities are across the park. It's a 600 foot walk, and having a bathroom adjacent to the new play area it would just enhance the usability of the new playground. So once again, the goals and policies of this create a full range of park recreation resources. We are also, especially in this case, trying to extend these recreational opportunities to special needs groups of all of the abilities and make sure that we provide diverse recreation programs for the city. And the last project on our list tonight is a proposal to do a use and market analysis. We are trying to respond to the Parks and Recreation System Master Plan, wherein they identified the need to have a major recreation facility, whether it be performing arts, aquatic, or another major recreation facility. In looking at that, there are still questions as to what would be of most use, what would be fiscally responsible for the city, and where that would go. So this feasibility study would be looking at that to try to figure out what would be the best use of the city's resources, what would be the best development. So this is not a construction project, it is an analysis project. But we believe that this project would not only meet the Parks and Recreation goals and policies by providing more diverse recreational facilities, but also addressing some of the land use goals and policies, and that we want to provide a mix of land uses that are appropriate for the community and promote community health through land use and design. So in summary, there are 7 new projects that we believe conform to many of the goals and policies of the general plan, and they are addressing many different aspects of the general plan: mobility, energy sustainability, infrastructure, land use, and parks and recreation and community service. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, before we bring it to the commission, let us see if we have any public comment on this. I do see one hand raised. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Chair Scharf. Hi, I'm Jennifer Griffin, and that was a really nice presentation from the staff. We're so happy to have our wonderful staff. You guys have been working so hard. Believe me, I understand that. You know, I'm really glad that you all mentioned the Stockelmeyer farm. I think that it would be really, really wonderful for the city to focus at some point on the future use of that farmhouse. I'm currently involved with the San Jose Historical Society in terms of trying to save the Graves House, which is the big old farmhouse from 1868 at Mitzi and Saratoga Avenue. Beautiful 2-story home from the 1800s. And I think more about Stockelmeyer House. That I believe that farmhouse is probably from 1900, 1905. But I think it would be really wonderful right now, of course, to make sure that it's watertight, that nothing happens to it, et cetera, new roof, and then start developing a plan for that. You all have had wonderful, a trail, and you have the orange orchard there. I have to put my glasses on to watch the timer on TV. Oh, I've heard. And now we have this house. I think it would be wonderful to develop, to have a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50-year plan for this site. You don't come across farmhouses like this anymore. They get torn down, they get bulldozed, nobody wants them. But this is a very, very important homestead from the farming era and the orchard era. I think they had viticulture there too, if I remember correctly, on this property. And we need to remember that in the history of Cupertino, particularly Monte Vista by Blackberry Farm was a pastoral, a rural farming area. And I think it's important that we have living history museums. I have been to Appomattox in Virginia, where the Civil War ended. I have been to George Washington's home, and then many things in California, Columbia, Gold Rush Town. You can have different types of living history museums set up in different ways. You can have docents go there. And I am a firm believer that we need to understand the history of every area we live in so that we understand why we have Mr. Putin invading an adjacent country. What is the history of that? Crimea goes back 200 years, but we need to study that ourselves. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Let's bring it back to, there's no more hands raised by attendees, so let's end the public comment, bring it back to the Planning Commission. Mooney, you're first.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Scharf. And Susan, you said the Stockholm property study, the amount was not correct, but the agenda package still shows 50K. So do you know what's the amount?
The amount proposed is actually 50,000. I changed it in the deck that I showed tonight, but I noticed that if you saw the deck in your package, it said 4 million, which was completely erroneous. So
not really. So that one had 50,000.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, 4 million was for that parking lot stuff.
Right. Yes, that was the intent in any case. So yes, it was. We actually were trying to keep it at a reasonable budget to start the conversation. Yeah. We don't have the answers, so we want to start with a feasibility strategy discussion.
Okay. So, Stephen, do I go ahead and ask a few more questions that I have?
Go ahead.
Okay. So go ahead on the library parking lot, so that parking garage, that one, it says southeast corner, right? I'm trying to visualize where it is, right? So can someone help me understand it? Because if you really look at the southeast corner of library parking lot, it's the beginning of that park space, the open space.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to see where the structure is going to be.
It will be so. If you look at Library Field, it'll be just north of Library Field, adjacent near the library, and where the new library expansion is at the rear of the library.
Yeah.
We put it at that back corner. We would have considered putting the parking garage more adjacent to City Hall, but it's a smaller lot, and we won't be able to reach the capacity that is needed to address the parking needs of the Civic Center. So the proposal is to put it to the southern end, which is south if City Hall is north and the library is south.
Yeah, but those spaces are pretty narrow, right? So if you really look at south side of the library, that parking space is pretty narrow, and likewise if you thanks for putting.
Thank you.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So
that we would. That's part of why we'd like to hire designers right away, because we'd like to have parking consultants to look at this to see how we would make the amount of parking spaces that we need work efficiently.
Okay. So it's the space where people come and drop books and all that stuff. That entire space.
That right now there's two places to do book drop off. It's closer to the front of the library on the parking lot side, as well as on Torrey Avenue. That there's a book drop off, and we're actually improving the sidewalks in that area this summer to make a drive-in for book drop off.
Okay, so it's a space between the creek and the library building.
That's right.
And the City Hall. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
On top of the existing parking.
Okay, good. So these tree structures on the south side, the trees and all, they will stay intact, right?
I would hope so. Yeah.
On the city lighting transition, right? The LED stuff. So besides controlling the light for the dark skies and all that stuff, how much in energy savings is expected? Because it's a huge number of lights. You got to believe there should be something in terms of the savings, energy savings. Do you know?
I don't have that. It might be in the survey that we had done. but I don't have that information handy.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So on the moving on to the next one. So the all-inclusive play area bathroom. So that one, can someone show me, where it's going to be located in that Jollyman Park?
Yeah, I don't know who had that up before. If they could Google the park for me. So the play area that exists right now, there is a playground that is going to be replaced by a new all-inclusive playground, and immediately adjacent to that. So the circle on this, that's Wilson, actually. Is it? Oh, no, you're right. I'm sorry.
This is Jollyman. Yeah.
I'm sorry. So the playground is on that where your cursor was. No, the other one. Yep, that one. Thank you. That's where the playground, the new all-inclusive will be.
Hold on,
and we're planning on putting the bathroom between the parking and the play area.
Okay, so the all-inclusive play area is that the circle where you have the arrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the bathroom is going to be right next to it.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So the funding for this, my understanding is that all-inclusive play area is being funded by county grants, some grants that we got from county. So couldn't the funding for the bathroom also come from that source? Why is it coming from city?
So the grant that we received, the AIPG, which is all-inclusive playground grant, play area grants, it's a matching grant. So there's I think 1.4 million, I think it is, that we received as a grant, and the city's required to match those funds. We're also required to do $1 million of fundraising in order to comply with the strictures of the grant. Since we already have a contract in place with the county for that, we didn't want to complicate it by rewriting the grant. So we're proposing this as separate funding in order to facilitate the need, the programming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all. Thanks, Chair Shah.
Okay, very good. Next hand raised is Sanjeev. Welcome.
Yeah, my question is related to you mentioned about the City Hall seismic restructuring and the parking lot. That is $4 million there. That is just for planning, right? Just for planning, and that funding is from the 79.5 million, which I saw in your pamphlet, which you handed out. Is that comes from that entire budget, or is it a separate $4 million?
The $4 million is included in the just over 70.
9.5 or
something like that. Yeah. Right. It is included in that amount. So we're trying to propose to council that we would proceed with the design and basically hire construction managers. We would probably need to do environmental study in order to comply. So there's a substantial amount of services that we would need to contract. And then in the second year, we would ask for funding for the parking garage in order to move that forward ahead of a city hall project, so that in theory we would have a parking garage constructed so that when construction on city hall starts, we have a way to address the logistics and the parking that would be further congested by a construction project.
Okay. Just related to that, since I think you were showing the map where you are constructing the garage, won't you have a problem in entering the garage and exiting the garage if you put it on the south side? But it looks like that that place where you are proposing, that itself is I have been to many times, and it is very difficult to park because first of all, parking space is not available, and second thing is it jams the cars back to back when they're like on weekends or things like that. So if you put it on the back side, you will have to enter from the front of the street, from the library on the north side, and that itself is it's going to be a 3-story, so it is a single entry point. It will be choking point basically. I don't know. I mean, it looks like to me there has to be some kind of a thought given to that, how you will enter and exit without creating too much of congestion in a small, narrow pathway.
So,
can
I interrupt just to remind everyone that we're not actually here to design these projects. We're just here to see if they are in line with the general plan. And I see Michael Wu, would you like to speak? You have your hand raised.
Yes, I would. And thank you, Chair Shark, because that was exactly the comment I was going to make. And so, of course, there's some clarification questions you want to ask based on the materials that are presented, please do so. But this is not to design any project. It's just to ensure that these projects that we're contemplating over the next year is in conformance with the general plan. So thank you.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And, I would urge, anyone that's concerned about the design to bring that up at the appropriate time at the city council meeting, or if these projects come to the planning commission later on. So yeah, go ahead. Next is Ray.
Hi, Susan, and thank you, Chair. Just quick questions. How do we determine which projects get approved? I always ask this question. I know other people do. Do these get prioritized because they're getting funding or matching grants were up at risk, or community input said these are the top ones, or staff determined these were the top ones? Just to remind the public how that process works, and then I'll ask you some questions that relate back to the GP. So,
I'm sorry, just to clarify, do you mean approved by council?
So yeah, I mean, these were approved by council. I know we're just confirming. I think people need to know that these are the ones that were confirmed by council and prioritized. But there are other capital improvement plans that are coming as well, right? Are these just the 7 for now?
Oh no, we actually have not gone to council. The council has not seen this list yet.
Then how does the prioritization come that we're choosing these to take forward to council is the question.
So we do have a prioritization process. We have a list of projects that we've considered in previous years. We ask staff who, keeping in mind, are in grounds and facilities, and they know Park and Rec. We ask all of the staff to do project initiation, and we receive those projects, as well as considering other projects. For example, the Stockelmeyer, Blush, and Burn analysis. We've listened to council over the years to know what has been on the kind of top of mind, what are council priorities. We also refer to the work program. So we take this list of projects and then we evaluate the projects. Do we have the staff to do it? Does it conform with the general plan? Does it meet council priorities? Does it serve a community need? Is it funded by grants already? There's a number of criteria that we have and we apply. And that is actually, I believe, one of the attachments, excuse me, that was provided in your packet shows the project narratives and has little symbols to show that this is a council priority that has been discussed or brought up in the work program, so et cetera, et cetera. So we try to apply reasonable standards to come up with these lists. And part of it is, I will also add that we're trying to be responsible. We have 40 active projects right now in the CIP. So we have a shorter list this year, and we're trying to be clear about things that are achievable. So yeah, for example, the bike path project is a rather simple project. We won't be redesigning streets. We're doing restriping on it, and Transportation Division has assured me that they are able to take that on at this point.
Got it. Yeah, I noticed that 4 of these were council priorities and 4 of them were health and safety improvements. I just wanted to make sure the public understood that was the case, right, in terms of that prioritization. So, okay, cool. And a quick question, I'm just going through one of them. I think the questions I had were similar to some of my fellow commissioners about the library parking garage and design. I'm not going to add to that. The question I do have around with bike lanes and dark sky projects, Are there expiration dates for these? Like, like, do these last for 5 years? Do they last for 10 years? Do they continue on for some time? I only say that because some bike lanes are heavily used. Some bike lanes are not heavily used. Sometimes we could actually redirect bike lanes in other places where we'd see that. I know there's a bike ped commission, and that's their jurisdiction to do that. But is there anything on that just limits the time or puts an expiration date? Like, nobody's using this bike lane, maybe we should move it to somewhere else?
That's a very good question. Thank you. It is worth noting that one of the criteria that we use in evaluating projects is the adherence to the master plans. And in the case of that project in particular, it is one of the priorities from the 2016 Bicycle Pedestrian Master Plan. And I think it's safe to say if you see any bike and ped project on the CIP list, it will have been generated by the Bike and Ped Commission, and in this case, that's true as well. It's one of the projects they wanted us to proceed with. So we are always checking back on that. Also, in terms of are the bike lanes being used, that you have actually a very talented transportation division, great engineer who we're always looking at traffic patterns and getting feedback from the community. The Bike Ped Commission is also quite active and vocal, and they would be the first ones to say that we need to change this, it's not working. So I think in the case of the community here, we have a very vivid and effective feedback loop on the bike and ped group paths, for example.
Okay, thank you. I yield my time back.
My pleasure.
Okay, next I see Vikram. You have your hand raised. Go ahead.
So actually, many of my questions have already been asked, so I'm not really going to go down that path. But I did have one question about process here. And while this is relevant for the city's programs, it's also relevant for some of the private developments we have. One challenge I have is that when a proposal comes to the Planning Commission, we rarely have a choice between 2 or 3 designs which we could study and comment on. It's almost like we are told that this is sort of the fait accompli, and then you have to rubber stamp it. And I think that way of working probably doesn't align with my expectation of what the commission should be doing. And this is especially important for projects which ask for exceptions and bonuses and other aspects, various clauses, because they are going above and beyond what is normally sanctioned by the general plan and our code. And we do want to understand the implications of different design choices and then optimize in a manner where we keep in mind the interests of everybody involved. So in general, I do want to encourage the staff to start thinking more in terms of early input from the Planning Commission on the various design choices you're considering. So the opinion of the Planning Commission is also included in finalizing those. That's all. Thank you.
If I may comment, thank you for your comment. And I believe that the joint commission that is being proposed for June 16th is along the lines of what you are asking for. I'm trying to bring all 3 commissions into the planning process for the Lawrence Mitty Park, to bring them in early and to have the discussions. So we are actually really working towards that goal.
Great. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, great. So I have one question. What is the height limit where the parking garage is proposed, and is it going? It doesn't exceed what our general plan says for that area, I hope. And how tall is it going to be? Taller than the library, or what is the height restriction there?
Chair, I can try to answer that. If you give me a moment, I will look it up. It is either 30 feet or 45 feet, but I have to verify what that is.
We haven't gotten into the design of it, so we haven't gotten that far.
Right, but no, but yeah. It is proposed as a 3-story structure. So,
you're correct, yeah. Yeah. And even the 3-story, I will say that once we get a designer on board and we see what we can fit into that space and which is reasonable, we won't be going crazy with the height or this plan the space. We're going to provide what is needed if we can.
Yeah, we can use state laws and seek exemptions and waivers.
Yeah.
Only if you provide housing with it.
Perfect.
Lovely.
Okay. Now I see.
It is 45 feet from what I can tell right now.
And the library is how tall now? Do you know?
Excellent question.
I want to say
it's not.
It's under 35, I believe. Yeah, because we had to address that with the expansion project. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I just wondered it would be odd for the parking garage to be taller than the library.
There is a section that is taller because of the skylights that are on the Torrey Avenue exposure, I believe. So there are portions that probably do reach up to 45. The edges of the library are not at 45.
So is this proposal for 2 levels plus the roof, or is it 3 levels plus the roof?
I would say 3 levels of parking, if that's required. We're trying to set the expectations for the worst case scenario so that we can fit in the maximum amount of parking that's being requested.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Sanjeev, go ahead.
Oh, just one question: that how much of this budget amount played a role in terms of prioritizing these or selection of these projects?
Do you mean by council or our work?
Because you have prioritized these to be presented to the council, and some of these, each of these projects have certain earmarked budget allocated to it. I'm just wondering that how in your decision process in selecting these projects, what was the role they played in the prioritization?
We are aware of it. Our capital improvements reserve is definitely part of the reality under which we function. For example, with the City Hall project, we tried to find an achievable way to move the project forward by bringing it into chunks that we could get the project started while a more robust funding strategy was developed by the city in order to cover such a large project. So we do try to keep that under consideration.
Okay, thanks.
Let's see. Sanjeev, I guess you're done. I'll lower your hand. So I don't see any other hands raised. So let's go back and look at our recommended action to adopt the resolution. Let me open the draft resolution here if I can get that to open. Let's see. There's no resolution number on this. Am I missing something here?
I think we're just trying to figure out if it's a CEQA, if it's exempt from CEQA or not.
Right. We actually don't put in the resolution number until it's adopted, Chair. So once it's signature, we'll assign it a number.
I see. Okay. All right. So can I have a motion to, I'll make a motion that we find the proposed capital improvement program for fiscal year 2022 to 23 consistent with the City of Cupertino general plan.
I'll second it.
Okay. Do we want to do the CEQA exemption separately or what?
No, let's do it together.
Do it all together.
Okay. Because I'm looking, it's redlined here on my attachment. So, City Attorney, why?
I was going to address that, Chair, if I may. It is my understanding that a CEQA determination is not required for this particular project because it does not involve a physical change to the environment. And Michael, I think you've unmuted yourself. Maybe you wanted to add something to that?
Yeah, the red lines are inadvertently provided to the commissioners. I mean, the bottom line is it already sets forth that you're finding that that is exempt from CEQA, and so all of those additional whereases aren't necessary, but there's nothing wrong with them, but there was just sort of surplusage. So
okay, well then, yeah, then what I read earlier, I will omit the exempt from CEQA part. So, and we have a second already. So if there's no more discussion, I see no hands raised. Can we have a vote on this?
Commissioner Kapil?
I don't hear him.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Saxena?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Aye.
Vice Chair Maripatla?
Yes.
Chair Sharp?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, so I don't see any old business or new business on the agenda. So we are on to staff and commission reports. Does anyone have any reports since the last meeting? Please raise your hand. If you've attended any seminars or group meetings, this is the time to speak up.
I wanted to see how people thought the Planning Commissioner Academy was, unless someone talked about that before. So if there was anything learned that was there, I didn't get a chance to go, but I think I downloaded all the presentations. So I wanted to see how people were thinking there. And the second thing I have was, just trying to see if people have gotten community input for what's been going on with the proposal for, I guess, the RISE. So that's basically my comments.
Okay, anybody else before I go? All right, well, I'll go. Yeah, I did mention, oh, Mooney, did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I briefly raised. Yeah, so there's a lot of questions coming in the community about the RISE, right? So people I often talk to residents, and there are a lot of questions. So anything that we can do to inform our residents with respect to the delta between what is the original plan or approved through the SB 35 plan versus what's being proposed now, it'll be a good thing to educate the community.
Okay, and on that, I did at the agenda setting meeting for the Planning Commission last week, I did request that we get a review of this at the Planning Commission, but it was too soon for tonight's meeting. So hopefully in 2 weeks, we will be able to have something on the agenda to look at the proposed changes to the SB 35 project. And
Sharf, is that a 60-day period we have?
It is 60 days, yes.
What's the countdown clock so far? What's our countdown clock?
City attorney can tell us what that is. I don't remember.
14 days in?
My understanding is that the 60 days ends on June 3rd.
Okay, very good.
Started on April 3rd, you said?
I said the clock will stop on June 3rd. I haven't counted backwards, but that's what I've been told.
Stops on June 3rd. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Right, and there are ongoing things happening within the city to look at this. It just was too soon for tonight to have any physical or legal review of it. So that will be coming up. And the Planning Commissioner Academy, yeah, I did attend. I mentioned it briefly at the last meeting, but the meeting was so long, I didn't go much into detail, but it was excellent. I can just say that. It was at Bishop Ranch out in San Ramon. It was very interesting because it's mainly an office complex, and then they put in a bunch of retail, including a Target and a bunch of actual real retail, not just restaurants, which is extremely popular with that community. But what was most impressive, the developer gave us a tour of the property, and they kind of overbuilt on their Class A office. And then they went recently, I think in January, they sold some of the office buildings to a housing developer who will be tearing down the office buildings and building single family homes and townhomes. And I thought that was, it was great that the developer realized, hey, we have too much office, we really need housing. and that they understood the kind of housing that is desired by the community, which is the single-family homes and townhomes for sale housing. And that's what I was at a Cali meeting, California Alliance of Local Elected Meetings, about 3 weeks ago, and we had somebody from the California Building Industry Association as one of the speakers, and he kind of echoed what the developers, Sunset Development, said to us in San Ramon, is that they're seeing tremendous demand for single-family homes and things like row houses and townhomes, and they're not seeing demand for rental apartments, high-density rentals. So that was interesting that Sunset Development found the same thing and found a housing developer that was willing to buy those office buildings and raise them and build housing, which should be coming very soon. I think they're be starting construction this year. And I mentioned that we had an SB9 session, and as someone else mentioned in the last meeting, Cupertino got mentioned in that SB9 session. Interestingly, the people whose tables I was sitting at were actually impressed with what the City Council of Cupertino had done regarding SB9 and preventing the shading of adjacent solar buildings. People asking me how they could do something similar in their cities. So we were kind of, I think the intention of the person presenting is not what actually people got from that presentation. They were kind of trying to put us down, and instead we were kind of admired for what our council had done, which was pleasing to me. And let's see, Commissioner Kapil, you were also there. Do you have any other comments on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you should download SB9 discussion and SB35. They have beaten it to the death. It was very good presentations on how I took one message away, that there was a strong emphasis on the density. So anything which goes against density will be shut down. So that was clear in session after session, in session after session. So CEQA presentation was very good, and I think they have advanced CEQA and CEQA both. I think they went in far more details, and the one thing they pointed out that the CEQA approval does not have a BA, and the project approval they are independent. They kind of be done in isolation. So they need not be in the same parcel. Cupertino was mentioned in 2 times. One was, of course, for their innovative sunshades ordinance that you cannot have solar panels in the shade of the other neighboring building, and that would avoid that would cause energy loss and things like that. And I think the most of the commissioners who came there were all familiar about Walco. So people had lots of different ideas how the Walco problem can be solved and why the CEQA issue can be solved for Walco. Yeah, this is what just comes to my mind at the top of my head right now. But SB9, SB10, and SB35 discussion and presentations were very good.
Were we able to set the record straight on the toxic conditions and soils there?
No, that did not come up for discussion. There. I mean, what was interesting, the other good session was a review of upcoming legislation. It's a little bit scary because, first of all, there's the proposal to allow 2-story ADUs, which would be 4 feet, still 4 feet from the property line. There's the proposal, there's 3 different laws to try to take away impact fees from cities, which would be disastrous to all cities. So hopefully the Cal Cities will be opposing those. It sounded like they would, as well as that Bob Wojciechowski's ADU ordinance, because a 2-story ADU backing 4 foot from the property line would not be a good thing, and it would be the city could not do anything about it. It would be approved by default, ministerially approved. So hopefully that will not move forward. We shall see.
Has the League of Cities gotten some backbone for defending the cities that they're supposedly representing?
It sounded like they had gotten some, and I think what happened that one of the days we were there, that's when the state auditor's report came out on HCD. And so I think the league, seemed to be getting more backbone. I think they were, the whole audit was prompted by the California Alliance of Local Electeds, and I think the league saw the success they had and is taking note of it. That's all maybe I will say about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Sharf and Commissioner Sanjeev for a detailed report. I was one of the people planning to attend that, registered, but I couldn't because last minute, I had to travel to India for a family emergency. So my apologies, but I think, you filled us in. Specifically though, the mix, right? Because I have a lot of friends, in that area that live, and they always consider, the Bishop Ranch as, one of the very successful, mixed use and retail centric, location, right? So it's good to hear that, the retail is thriving there, and residences and, all building off office and, where they are going to, convert to offices. So that's a good insight, right? So thank you.
Yeah, and the retail there, it was all ready to open right when the pandemic hit. So it got kind of delayed. It's just really getting fully tenanted right now, but it's very impressive. I mean, the lines at the restaurants are already quite long, so it's good to see the retail and restaurants thriving there. Hopefully we can have something similar in Cupertino.
It's good to see that they picked a location that's can be a showcase for success, right? So we keep hearing all these noise about retail is dead and whatnot, right? And it's good to see a thriving retail location.
Yeah, it was, and the fact that they actually have quite a bit of actual retail, as well as the restaurants, is impressive because what we don't want to see is all restaurants. I mean, it's we need actual retail as well. So let's move on here. Does anyone have any future agenda items that they would like to see on the agenda going forward? Okay, well, we are going to be talking about the Valco SB 35 plan, also known as the RISE, at a future meeting. And seeing nothing else, I guess, does the staff have any reports?
Just one comment I just want to. I heard that in the planning academy sessions, that if the city wants to change the state or mend the state rules, it can issue an ordinance. So if you are concerned about a particular issue, then city has some rights to issue ordinance. So what do you think about that? That comment I heard very clearly, that city has some leverage in order to go around, like for ADU issues, like they are proposing 2-story ADUs and 4 feet out from the fence and things like that. That is obviously a big issue for privacy as well as aesthetics of the construction itself. So, the city council has a prerogative to issue an ordinance and amend that to the and how much leverage that has, I'm not very clear about it, but I did hear this comment.
Well, our city attorney could comment on that, but what I understood about the proposed 2-story ADU ordinance is that it would be ministerial and the city could not. Well, kind of just like the current ADU ordinance. The city has no discretion.
Can we move that to another meeting?
Yeah, sure. So,
well, I just want to point out, though, I mean, that's a good question that Commissioner Cabillo asked, but it's complicated. I think it's a, it's a statute by statute, examination, because we're a general law city. We're governed by state law. We have to comply with state law, and so sometimes the state's going to preempt any sort of regulation that's contrary to what they say, and then other times, you can pass legislation that may be more strenuous, and so it's a rather complicated response that's really determined by each specific ordinance you want to further regulate. So I'll leave it at that. It's just so.
Okay. Oh, Michael, I do have one question that kind of came up because of these charter cities in Southern California that are challenging some state laws. What is involved for a general law city to become a charter city?
Offhand, I don't know all the specifics, but it certainly would require a vote of the citizens and coming up with a charter, and so it's fairly complicated. And you have a right distinction between charter and general law cities. Charter cities generally can control what's called their own municipal affairs. They have the police power to do that unless it's an area where the state has expressed its intention to regulate the entire field. And so, I apologize for not giving you a more thorough answer,
fine.
but I think that's complicated. But before I go, I do want to say, Chair, that we will be working with you, after obtaining direction from the city manager and city attorney with respect to future agenda setting. So just want to let you know that.
Okay, very good. All right, seeing nothing else, I think I will adjourn the meeting.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I see your hand raised now. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So a couple of things that I just wanted to, one question and one information. So I'll be out next 2 weeks traveling. So if there are any meetings, I will not be able to attend because I will be totally in a different time zone. But if there are any mandatory meetings, I would like to know this week. That's just an FYI. Do we know when we are getting that site list for HCD sites, that 400 sites we are supposed to get a spreadsheet with a lot of information that nobody can
put on? Pew, can you answer that?
The consultant is working on that sites list. Of course, some of the resources that he had got redirected to the community engagement committee that was formed, and as a result, that list kind of got shelved a little bit. However, that is still on track to come before the Planning Commission at this time on April 26th. So we're gonna continue to hope that we're gonna get that site list finalized for Planning Commission's review.
So are we going in person at the next meeting?
Yes, the commission and staff will be in person. The rest of the community may be in person or may attend virtually.
Okay. Right, because I see Commissioner Matapatla said he will be out of town, and I believe Commissioner Wong will also be out of town.
So we
I
still
hope we
would
won't.
continue to have a quorum with the remaining
Yeah.
planning
Can
commission.
you have a quorum? Can we attend virtually as well, or will that not count?
No, but the commissioners have to be in person.
Okay. So we'll just attend as attendees.
Yeah.
I'm a without a vote, may possibly. I don't know. Michael will have to speak to that.
I'm a little
Michael, can we check in on
concerned
that?
about this. I thought it was great going back in person a few weeks ago, and now I see that this new variant is raising the number of infections in the area. So now I'm a little wary of the in-person meetings starting so soon. But
same here.
I guess that's a decision of the city council, or what?
As a commission, can we make that determination, or is that a council decision, or is that this?
I believe that is a council decision, and so any meetings after, I believe it's April 14th, or maybe it's tonight, maybe it's April 13th, are all are all in person except the planning commission, the city council, and the Parks and Rec commission, if I can remember right. Those are hybrid, but hybrid is only for the public. The commission and staff still would be at the city hall chambers.
Okay, so this is not a state directive, right? It's a city council.
It is the council's decision.
Yes. All right, let's go lobby our council members.
Yes, please.
I think we should have some clarification. We're still working through how this hybrid system is going to work. My understanding is that there is going to be an item before council to extend the remote teleconferencing meetings in compliance with the Brown Act. I don't know offhand how much further it goes in, but council did express the desire that the commission's next meeting and the council's next meeting on Tuesday 19th be hybrid. Having said that, my understanding is that they're also going to allow staff to make presentations. They don't have to attend in person as well. And so, but this is all evolving as as we're going through this, and we'll supplement maybe send out communication to all of you with respect to what can and can't be done. In respect to Commissioner Wong's query, I think even under the Brown Act, to the extent that we can extend the teleconferencing, there was always procedures where you're not going to be available. You could attend from further away, but you just have to allow, if there's someone in the public who wants to, join you in that facility, they can do so. So I don't know where you're going to be, but that's certainly an option, right?
I dare them. I'm in Singapore. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so I'll be in India that week, so time zone wise, and it won't work out. So there is a lot of confusion about the hybrid meeting, so it'll be nice to get a very clear instructions what it means. Right? I was under the impression hybrid meeting means we have an option of being in person or attending remotely, but I just got a clarification saying that's only for public, that they have an option to either to come in person or remote, but we have to be in the office. That's what I heard, but I wasn't aware of it until just now.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Anything else? Sanjeev, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just want to confirm there is a tomorrow. I have to attend this city council to commissioner meeting. Is that happening tomorrow?
The mayor's meeting?
Are you talking about the mayor's meeting with the commissioners?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe it should be happening.
And that is through Zoom, right?
Yeah. That's
okay.
Through Zoom. I believe they would. Yeah, you should have gotten a Zoom link for it.
Okay, thanks. I haven't got it as yet, but I think it's happening tomorrow.
Okay. Commissioner Kapil, we can follow up with Deborah Nascimento, who organizes that, to make sure you either have a Zoom link or are informed whether that's in person or not.
Okay.
Okay, seeing nothing else, let's adjourn. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.